Hi guys, I'm Anita and I'm back with another video, and today it's time for my weekly wrap-up. I know I've been posting a video just yesterday about my recent reads, but that is books that are before this week that I haven't had time to put out before now. So yeah, I know there's been a lot of videos coming up on my channel recently. I hope you don't mind and hope you don't feel like it's like too spammy or whatever, but I feel like I had to get these out of over this week, and then I am ready for November starting next week. Over the past week I managed to finish 5 things, so let's get into them. The first book that I finished over the past week was Murder on Astor Place by Victoria Thompson. This is the first one in the Gaslight Mysteries, and this is set in New York back in 1895, so close to the turn of the century. We are thrown into this book by being introduced to this girl called Sarah Brandt, who is a midwife. She is estranged from her very powerful and wealthy family after she sort of married beneath her. She married a doctor, and that was not good enough for her family, but after becoming a widower, she decided to keep her job as a midwife instead of going back to her family to try and resolve things. As part of her job as a midwife, she's thrown into the mystery of a young girl who has been murdered, and that said girl was pregnant at the time of her death and had been seeking a midwife or some help in order to get an abortion. So she swept into this mystery, which is led by the detective sergeant Frank Molloy, who is, obviously the lead of the case. And they have some grudges towards each other for different reasons, and you sort of figure out why as the book goes on. The mystery was well written. I didn't guess what happened until very late into the book, and it was definitely very interesting. And the setting at the late 1800s was really interesting as well. And I never really read a lot that is set in US in a historical setting, but more in like the UK or something in a historical setting. And so this was definitely very interesting. I enjoyed how the relationship between Sarah and Frank developed, and I'm happy it didn't turn into a romance, because I like the way it was set up in the beginning. I was afraid that it would be, but it wasn't. So it stayed professional, and I thought that was pretty great. Well, pretty well done. And yeah, I just really enjoyed this book, and I cannot wait to read on in it. This is definitely a series that I'd like to continue with, and it is actually a pretty long series. I think it's over, if not just over 20 books, it's maybe closer to 25 or over that. I'm not really sure. But this book specifically was published back in the 90s, so quite a long time ago. But I really enjoyed it, and I highly recommend it if you come across it. The audio narration was really great. I don't remember who the narrator was. I should have written it down, but I really enjoyed the narration and can't wait to read on in the series. And so I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars, so highly enjoyed this mystery. The next book that I finished was Life After Life by Kate Atkinson. This is first in a series about the Todd family, and this follows this girl called Ursula, and it's set in around the time in London before the World War II is about to start. And it follows Ursula. She is born, and then she immediately dies before she takes the first breath, and then she's born again and then lives on a little bit, but then keeps dying in different ways and is born again, and sort of she takes different actions every time she is born again, and that changes the direction of the story. And it makes an interesting premise, but overall I just really didn't like the story as a whole. I think it got a little bit repetitive with all of her passing away and then waking up, starting her life again, and with a new direction. There were definitely moments that I enjoyed in the book, but as time went on, then she would die and it takes up a new direction, and she lost that. I was not engrossed in that part of the story, and so it kept taking turns where I wasn't in it. And the narration of the audio was good, and the writing is good, so there's nothing wrong with that. It's just she could have handled it a little better, and the story as a whole could have been done a little better, in my opinion. But yeah, overall it just wasn't engaging enough, and I ended up giving it a 2 out of 5 stars. I think I started out on a 3 stars when I finished it, but as I thought about it, I just, no, I didn't enjoy it as enough to give it a 3 stars, so I ended up on a 2 out of 5 stars for this book. And this was also a book that I read for my genre TBR thing. The next thing that I finished was another audio, and that was Wolves in Winter by Tyrell Johnson. This is a 2018 release, actually. I wasn't aware of that when I got into it. But this is set in this post-apocalyptic world in Canada, in the outskirts of Canada, like in the wilderness. And there's this aggressive flu that's killed off the majority of the human population on Earth, and we follow a young girl called Lynn, and she's, as I said, living in this secluded area in Canada with what's left of her family that's alive after the flu. But not long into the story, this guy called Jax turns up. They reluctantly invite him into their home. It doesn't take long before the story takes a turn, and we find out that Jax has escaped from this facility called Immunity, and they are looking for him. They want him back at all costs. And so things definitely take a turn from there. When I went into this, I had an idea this was a dystopian, since it was part of my science fiction genre TBR project thing. I wasn't aware it was a YA, not until I started listening to it, but I could immediately tell it was a YA, and I was a little scared what was going to happen, because I've read a couple of YA dystopians before that I really didn't enjoy, or because of how the author handled the characters and stuff. However, this definitely proved that it could be done in a good way. I definitely didn't get bored or feel like I didn't get along with the characters. I really enjoyed Lynn, the main character. I think that she was pretty strong protagonist, and the things that she went through was really interesting. And I overall just ended up enjoying the story, and will highly recommend it if you're into YA dystopians, or just dystopians in general. Or if you're like me, had your issues, you can try it and see if it's something for you. I really enjoyed the pace of the story and found the situation they were in really interesting. I was really pleasantly surprised by this and happy that I read it, and so I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. The next thing that I finished was Frostburn by Patricia Briggs. Finally, I finished this next book in the Mercy Thompson series, and yeah, this is obviously the continuation, so I can't talk a lot about the specific plot of this, but just know that I really loved it. It might have seemed that I didn't love it as much as the others because I've taken so long to read it, but that has been because, 1, it didn't work with a lot of my readathons that I've been doing. 2, I had started way too many books at the same time and was overwhelmed and felt like I needed to get rid of some of those that I started before this one, because I needed to hand them in at the library or something like that. But now I finished it, and I highly enjoyed it. Mercy is still one of my favorite female leads I've ever read about, and this definitely took a turn I hadn't seen coming. But yeah, just know that I really love this, and I ended up giving it 5 out of 5 stars. I was really happy to be back in this world. Yeah, highly recommend this series to anyone who are interested in urban fantasy in any way. I think this is a really great series to start. Even if you, at the time you started, don't feel like you like shapeshifting, urban fantasies or shapeshifter, if it's the first shapeshifter you want to try out, then definitely check this out, because it definitely explores it in a really great way. Mercy Thompson is a walker. Walkers can transform into their animal at will, a lot easier than werewolves, for instance. And Mercy's walker is a coyote, so she shifted into a coyote. She's grown up in pack dynamics when she was really young, because her mother left her in the care of this man called Bran, who was the leader of all of the packs around the northern US, I think. And so it was a great place for her to grow up, because she knew about pack dynamics, and has since then been living in the Tri-City area as a Volkswagen mechanic. That's her daytime job, if you will. And she's sort of been living on the same ground as the alpha of the Tri-City area pack called Adam Hauptmann. And yeah, absolutely love this. Highly recommend it, and everyone should check it out. Yeah, this is my favorite urban fantasy series. And that says a lot because I also really love the Dresden Files. So just know that I love this so much and recommend it to everyone. And the last and final thing that I more or less just finished is the first book in this omnibus of the Amber Chronicles, and that is called The Nine Princes of Amber. This follows, we are basically just thrown into this book and meet this man called Corin as he wakes up in hospital after having been in an accident. He has no recollection of who he is. He doesn't know anything about what's been going on, what has led him to get here, and he has no memories about it at all. He just knows that he needs to get out of this hospital sooner rather than later, and finds out who has paid for hospital bills, and finds out that is his sister, so he seeks her down and finds out that he is part of a royal family in this world called Amber. And then things definitely takes a turn, and things start rolling. I don't know if I want to say a lot more than that, just that this was so incredibly engaging. I loved being in this book. Roger Zelazny writes in a pretty straightforward way that is easy to get into, but it is not in a bad way. It was action-packed from the beginning. And you're thrown into Amber knowing nothing about it, because the main character knows nothing about it when he gets there. And so I like getting to know about the world building along with Corwin. We didn't know anything. He sort of found out things sporadically throughout the book. A lot more as things went along, obviously. And it just came together in a really interesting way. And I cannot wait to get on with this series. And this has been a buddy read, a group read that I've done with Rhea from the Book of Inch and Linnea from Robert Maria Reviews and Katie from Katie Cat Books, who's on Instagram. And we've all really been enjoying it, and it's been really interesting discussing the book, and I cannot wait to get back to this book this next book in November sometime. We have decided to read one book each month until we finish with this. So yeah, highly recommend this one. I ended up giving it 5 out of 5 stars. I just really love this book and cannot wait to read on with it. So this was the last book that I finished over the past week. Now let's get into the things that I've been working on over the last week as well, that I hope to finish over the next coming days. First up, I am about halfway through City of Lies by Sam Hawke. I am exactly on page 273, and it's a little over 500 pages. I have definitely been enjoying this. It's not like, this is one of my most anticipated reads, so it's not, at this point, it is not as amazing as I was hoping, but it is definitely very interesting, and I am enjoying myself while I'm reading it, so I'm not disappointed. I hope to get through a lot more of this today, but we'll see how much I end up reading. I definitely know I won't be finishing it, but I hope that I will finish it before October is over. But I will let you know as time goes. I only have 3 days left and today, so we'll see how it goes. Obviously, I would really love to finish The Dead Zone by Stephen King. Now that I have minimized my TBR so much that I actually only have this one physically to read over the next week, I think I might be able to finish it so that I have it finished by next weekend. And the last and final book that I have started is The Exercise of Vital Powers by Ian Gregoire, which is a review copy I received from him a couple of months ago, and I have started it and I'm enjoying it. It's intriguing. So yeah, so those are the 2 books I will be working on over the next week as physical reading. And then I have that audiobook of City of Lies that I'm working on, and I'm working on an audiobook of An Unkindness of Ghosts. I think that's what it's called. So far, I'm not very much into the story, but I'm gonna finish it. I think I read the first about 2 hours, listened to the first 2 hours of the audio, and yeah, that is all I have been working on over the past week and will work on into next week. I hopefully have finished by next weekend. I will let you know more when I get to next weekend, obviously. Yeah, this is all I had for you today. Definitely let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of the books that I've been reading and what your thoughts were on them. Are you thinking about picking any of them up? Definitely also let me know about that. And I will talk to you in a video very soon. Goodbye!